Welcome everyone to the Masters Open Days for African Studies, the Masters and Research Masters programs. My name is Karen Nijenhuis. I'm the chair of the Masters program, and please let me introduce you first to the other people here behind the table. This here on my left is Azeb Amhaj. She's the chair of the Research Masters program. To the ultimate left is Pat Dowling, a student in the Masters program. And here is Dorine Klein-Gunnewijk. She's a Research Masters student. Well, maybe you are dreaming of a future job, and maybe you want to become an academic researcher, or maybe you want to become a journalist in Africa, or a policy officer at an embassy, or maybe a team leader in a human rights organization, or to work in a company that is focusing on Africa. Well, if that is the case, then please hang on, because we will tell you more about the programs that may help you to become that, to have that future job. We will present the Masters and the Research Masters. So what's the difference and why should you choose the one or the other? We'll hope that will be clear by the end of this presentation. We'll say something about the admission requirements, and there will be a lot of opportunity to ask your questions. Well, let me start with the Master in African Studies. Why would you choose the Master? Well, it's a one-year program, small classes. This year we have around 15 students who started the program. It's multidisciplinary, so for example, anthropology, economy, geography, history, linguistics, etc. And so you focus on Africa from all these different disciplines. Teaching in the Master's program is innovative and interactive. For example, we pay a lot of attention to digital humanities, on research communication, and that is a bit the jewel in the crown, you develop your own research internship. So in the second semester, you will leave for 10 weeks and you go to Africa to do your research internship, or you can also do it in an Africa-related setting in Europe, including the Netherlands. Very briefly, the program, it is 1 year. In the first semester, you will have 4 content courses around the disciplines, the various disciplines, and you will have courses in methodology, and you will be prepared to your research internship project in the second semester. After that, so in the second semester, you will leave to Africa, and when you come back, you will write your thesis, and you do a course, in communicating research. So how do you communicate your findings to a broader audience, including an academic audience? Well, these are some core staff members. Maybe let me also tell you, and that is maybe also the difference with the Research Master, but Azeb will tell you more about that. When you do the Master's program, the one-year program, it is more focusing on jobs that are more practice-oriented or policy-oriented. You can also do research afterwards, but if you really want to do research, then we recommend to do the Research Masters program. So I give the floor now to Azeb.
Yes, thanks, Karin. Hi, good morning. So I will tell you why you could choose Research Master African Studies. And that is, if you want to dive deep into the academic field of African Studies, you choose Research Master. The Research Master African Studies, it's a 2-year program that goes in depth in issues related to Africa. And in the Research Masters, there is teaching staff, their own research and teaching are intertwined. So you get top scientists in the field in Leiden, and with them you can go in depth into your own interest area. And the program is interdisciplinary. We have colleagues from different fields, anthropology, political science, history, and name it, all academic disciplines, including languages and linguistics, which is my own field. In the RESMA African Studies, we pay a lot of attention to things that are currently important in Africanist debates. For example, we have discussions on demographic youth bulge, decolonization. We deal with things like e-health in our teaching and discussion. The teaching program is interactive. a lot of individual attention. We are a small group. And an important aspect, excuse me, I'm a bit... So an important aspect of the RESMA is to give you a chance to develop your own research project. And you can do fieldwork in Africa for 6 months. That's individual choice of your own research topics you like and how you want to do. You get a lot of training in the methodology of doing research, and you develop that. Another good thing about the RESMA and including the MA is that you find staff members with extensive research experience in Africa, and you can join what we call a collaborative research group, that is thematic groups in which members of staff form a research group, a kind of collaborative group to which students of RESMA can join. And that is something you can have a look in the website of the African Studies Center. That could be on history, that could be on health, that could be on archival research. So you can be a member of that next to your curricular activity. And we have the unique resources at the African Studies Center, be it films, books, newspapers. It is one of the best libraries in Europe and worldwide on Africa, and that is where you belong. To briefly give you an overview of the course program, so in the first year we have the block system, as you know, in Leiden. You have the RESMA course. The first course is Theoretical Foundations and Interdisciplinarity in African Studies. This is a course that you do together with PhD students. It is something that you will really like, interacting top scientists in African studies and people who are doing their PhD. And then you have electives. These 2 courses, for example, Economy, Geography, and Society, and the next one you do together with the MA African Studies students. It's an elective, you take one. And if you look through the program, each block you have 15 credit hours. That is the first year program. I think you can see the courses, so I will not go in detail into that. And in the second year, the main, your own research comes first. So you will do field work the first semester, the entire semester. In the second semester, you have a course on thesis writing and academic publication. And next to that, you write your own thesis. So this gives you time to develop your own interest in depth. So if you want to be, if you are, you want to focus on analytical and research skills, the RESMA is for you. It will enable you to pursue a PhD and other research career after graduation. Aside from academic research, you can have all kinds of skills that during the courses. You can be a research journalist, work in a think tank, work in cultural, political, economic organizations, is engaged with Africa, and become a policy advisor as well. So you can find a lot of information in the website as well, more information. And these are the staff members, some of the staff members teaching, and as I told you, representing disciplines from economy, geography, history, linguistics, and what you have. So there are admission requirements in the website. You can compare the 2 programs in choosing this. So for the master, a BA degree in these disciplines listed there, history, African studies, history, cultural anthropology, political science, and so on. And in the research master, you can see it is something comparable. So the background studies represented here, political science, history, cultural anthropology, international studies would do. And in the master, you have the option to do a pre-master minor African dynamics to join. For example, if your grades if you don't fulfill some requirements, you can take these minors and then upgrade yourself to the MA program. In the MA, you need to show demonstrable motivation to study African studies, you do the same in the research master. Affinity with Africa is a requirement in both programs. English language proficiency is also a requirement, but the difference you see in the RESMA, you need to show 7.5 TOEFL or other English exam results, and you need to show some grades, for example, 7.5 average or an 8 for your thesis. And you need to show a little bit of writing, samples of writing in your admission procedure. So please check it out. So on the websites, both programs are there. There is a tailor-made pre-master program by Board of Admissions for those who cannot make it on the first requirement. And if you are in doubt, contact our staff, the Stuco African Studies. You have the email address there. So we'll be in touch. So Karen, would you?
Yeah, so please let me, well, there's the e-prospectus, you can have a look there for the programs. So, well, before we give the floor to the two students to talk about their fieldwork experiences, let me please recap why should you study African Studies in Leiden. Well, we haven't mentioned it yet, but it's unique in the Netherlands, so there's no other city where you can study African Studies. It is multi or interdisciplinary. It's a combination of humanities and social sciences. So if you like to make this combination and to study Africa, then maybe it's interesting to you. We have a 1-year program and a 2-year program. In both programs, you go to Africa, 10 weeks for the master's program and 6 months for the research master's program. In both cases, smaller interactive classes. It is very international, both the staff and students. I think about, well, 2/3 of the students are international. And also staff members, I think about half of the staff is also international, maybe even more. As I've mentioned, we have excellent research staff and lecturers, although it's a bit strange to say it from yourself, with various expertise, both regionally, disciplinary and thematic. For example, Azep is a linguistic and I'm a human geographer, so we represent already 2 different disciplines. We have a balanced program, we think, but a lot of attention to your own individual project. And, well, you will be based, or work together with African Studies Center Leiden researchers and further within humanities faculty, for example, in the history and linguistics departments. So please feel welcome, come to us, ask questions if you have. But first, so if you have any questions, please ask Tim Sanders, our study advisor, and you'll find his email address here. And now let's have some more taste from the ground. So we first get a presentation from Pat and then from Dorine, in which they will share their experiences in Africa. Pat went to Kenya and Dorine to Tanzania. So, Pat, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. So, as Karen said, I went to Kenya, and this is my research internship experience. It was 10 weeks, as mentioned earlier. You can really hone what you want to do in the field or in your research internship. Whatever your areas of interest are, you can tend to go towards that and further delve into this area. That's something that's a great advantage about this 1-year master's course. So you can see my research internship was a study on water recontamination in the household. It was a peri-urban area outside Kisumu in Kenya. And you may ask, then you can see on my little presentation slide, Kisumu is there right beside Lake Victoria, and the organization was called SWAP, non-profit organization, and they were specifically kind of interested in improving health and the economic status of communities in Kenya. Very nice organization, and I was very much welcomed there. And here we go. This is where Kisumu is, just to give you a visual of how close it is to Nairobi, because I think most people know Nairobi. So the type of research question, as I mentioned, and your research area, multidisciplinary, but you can kind of make it what you want in terms of in partnership with the organization as well that you do your internship with. So you can see mine, there was about the practices around managing water in the home, focused on use, hygiene and storage patterns, and the area was Chuthbar. It's peri-urban area outside Kisumu. And there was already a Solar Magic kiosk there operating. So the interest was, after people take this water from the kiosk, what happens at home? And you also may understand there's different ways to do research, and I was lucky enough that I had a combination of three, where there's ethnography, interviews with some local people, and focus groups with the ladies who manage water in the home. So this is just a look at the environment that I worked in. Amazing people, really friendly. You can see a picture there of the water kiosk, and some ways that they transported water to the home. So there's a horse there, which wasn't always common in the area, and there's a gentleman on his motorbike. He actually sells water. And this is the river where people took the water, where the people who in Swap, they took the water and brought it to the kiosk. There was a process. I won't go into all of that, but you just see the environment anyway that I was working in. I got to know the locals very well for part of the research that I did. Loved the whole experience. This is just a picture of some of the ladies I did the focus group with. So it's just a little taster of 10 weeks and, you know, the kind of great like flexibility and the variety of things that you can do. I enjoyed thoroughly the 10 weeks there. And just to say that in terms of the benefit, yes, you have hands-on experience. It is integral to go to Africa and really like first-hand experience like what's out there. It also helps you to kind of think about your future and what you want to do. You work with an organization, so you're adding value there. And of course, then your thesis is very interesting because you've had that hands-on experience. So that's it pretty much from me. Thank you very much. I will pass on to Doreen.
Thank you, Pat. Hi, everyone. I'm Dorina. I did the research master. I started in 2020, and I graduated this year. Took a bit longer for me because of COVID, because we were not allowed to go and field work for a bit, and I really wanted to go. So I went to Tanzania. More specifically, I went to Dar es Salaam, which is the biggest city in Tanzania. And I went to study the effects of local female political leadership on society. More specifically, I wanted to see if seeing women in action or women in positions of political power would change how people perceived female political leadership. Originally, I wanted to do it more in a smaller community because I thought it was easier, but the reality of fieldwork is you get somewhere and you adapt to the circumstances. So I decided to stay in Dar es Salaam, and in the end that worked perfectly fine for me as well. Here I just put some pictures of Dar es Salaam. It's on the coast, the east coast, and also a very nice picture of the view from my apartment, which I was very lucky to stay. Like I said, my research was on female political leadership, and what I mostly did was interviews. Two kinds of interviews, one with local female political leaders, and then specifically at the very local level, because my assumption was that at the very local level, that's where the most direct impact is. That's when people see, hey, oh, this person is changing something for me, she's solving the conflict with my neighbor, she's helping me establish my business, etc. And so I wanted to see if it's a woman who's doing that, does that impact how people view women? So I interviewed all these amazing women. They told me about their experiences, about their feelings, about things that had changed. And then I also interviewed local residents about their opinions and perspectives of female political leadership. And I was also very lucky, sort of, because in 2021, Tanzania got its first female president. So that was really interesting to incorporate into my research as well, how people were viewing her. And here, the first picture, you can see me interviewing someone. She was actually the mother of the guy you can see in the picture who I was staying with. And then the other picture is my interpreter, because I did speak some Swahili. I took some Swahili classes at the university, but it wasn't enough to actually really go in depth in the interviews. So I used an interpreter who was integral to my research. I could have not done it without her, not only in the translating, but also because she really helped me, like, maybe this question is a bit insensitive to ask, maybe you should word it differently, things like that. So that was really essential. And then lastly, I wanted to show some pictures because it's very nice to do research, and it's extensive and it's hard work, but there's also some time, like Pat said, to enjoy the country. So I went to Zanzibar a couple times because it's very easy with the ferry from Dar es Salaam. That's the first picture. I went on safari, and I also took the time to really enjoy the country, enjoy the people, the weather, the food especially. So yes, it's hard work, but also there's really enough time to enjoy yourself. And I would say I would really recommend this research master if you really want to do extensive research. For me, I feel like I really needed the 6 months, especially because I was not embedded into any organization. So I had to find my own way, and that takes some time to really establish connections, etc. So if you feel like I really have this amazing idea and I really want to do extensive research, I would really recommend the research master. And in addition, I would say everything is possible. As long as it has some link to Africa, you can do anything you want. Like, I have a friend who did research on Mozambican beadwork. Then there's me on sort of more the political science side. There's a friend who did research on African dance in Paris. So, like, you can do anything you want, basically, which I think is a real highlight of this research master. So, yeah, I would really recommend that, but maybe I'm biased.
So, well, we hope you got some impressions of our programs and also from the student fieldwork experiences. Doreen said everything is possible, almost everything is possible. Maybe it's good to also to say something about that, because indeed we have many researchers with many disciplines, expertise on many countries, so indeed a lot is possible. However, we have to take into account that you cannot go to every country. So we follow the guidelines of the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It has yellow, green, yellow, orange, red. And some countries, for example, the DRC, you are not allowed to go there. So please keep that in mind, and also have a look at the country list, the maps on the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs website. Well, that's a disclaimer. So I think it's time now for Q&A. So if you have any questions, then please let us know, and we will try to answer those. So we are waiting. Okay, so the question is, how does one apply for a scholarship?
Yes.
Azeb?
May I take that? Yes. Hi, Sarah. For a scholarship, there is in Leiden the Lexus Scholarship. If you are choosing RESMA, there is a dedicated scholarship for Research Master African Studies students originally from Africa. And it is not a lot. We have one place every year to which people can compete. But there is also a general Lexus for the MEA and all other programs you need. When you make the application, you indicate. There is a page in the application procedure which says, do you need a scholarship? And so you need to indicate that, and then you have to supply material, documents that motivate the scholarship request, and then you can compete and you might get it. But if you are interested in the Erasmus scholarship for all people attending, I would like to say we have a deadline coming soon. So February 1 is the deadline when we have to give the candidates that we choose. So before that, we have to make a selection. So there will be a call coming out soon, next week or in 10 days' time. Please pay attention to that and tell people you know they can try. And these have to be people from Africa and not from European countries.
Yeah, and for other scholarships, there's a web page at the Leiden University website with scholarships listed. So there's indeed, this one is apart from the regular competition. There's also the normal Lexus scholarship for excellent students. There are also other scholarships, but we know it is quite difficult to get a scholarship. So, but please have a close look. Maybe you fulfill criteria for scholarship at Leiden University. And you can also contact the study advisor if you want to have more information on this. But thank you for this question. It's an important one. Thank you. Ruby asks, please, how large is the class? I have a BA in languages and a master's degree from Wageningen, and I like to take this program. Would you consider me eligible for application? Well, how large is the class? It depends whether it is a mandatory or elective, but let's say for the master's program, it's between 12 and 15 students. For the research master students, it's less.
Yeah, about 6.
About
5, 6.
5, 6.
It depends on the year.
Yeah. And if you want to know whether you are eligible for application, please contact Tim Sanders, the study advisor. He can tell you more because it depends on your individual situation. If you have a BA in languages, master's degree from Wageningen, the issue is, do you have, content-wise, do you have sufficient knowledge and experience with Africa? So please contact the study advisor, and you can always apply, and the Board of Admissions will consider your application and tell you what you should do to fulfill all the conditions if you have not fulfilled them all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Ruby. About the application, we have admission commission for the MA and RESMA together. They are very open. They look into case-to-case basis, and they advise and they direct ways. And I have seen, we have had in the RESMA students from Wageningen before. So the institution Wageningen is IT, there are social aspects and so on. So it depends on the type of course you have done. So the Africa experience is, it is there, but it depends. Have you been to Africa? Have you had courses? Have you had some research work done on Africa? So it is not, one point and then it is blocked there. You can negotiate, you can explain yourself, and if there is something you need to do to be eligible in the next round and so on, there are ways they can help you. We mentioned the minors, for example, so it is individual basis, but you are, from what I see, language and Wageningen background, you are eligible.
Yeah. So, for example, Dorine, what was you did a bachelor in?
I did a bachelor and a master in political science, but I did take some electives on, because there's also a bachelor in African studies at Leiden, and took some electives.
Okay, yeah. And you, Pat?
I come from an IT background mainly, and then I did a master's also in tourism, culture and society, and then I came to Leiden.
Yeah, yeah. So there are various, with various bachelor's degrees or master's degrees you can come, but please contact the study advisor for your individual situation. Thank you. Dan asks, do you have tangible career perspectives? I don't know exactly what you want to
May I come in, Dan? Thanks for the question. A tangible career, is to look into our graduates. Where are they? We have alumni website. We keep contact with our alumni. We organize things. with them. And if you look there, you know, earlier in our slides we have mentioned journalism, we have mentioned people working in embassies, Dutch embassies in Africa, people working in NGOs, in the policy making sector. So you find our people everywhere. And the thing is, there might be a slight difference. For example, we emphasized if you choose the RESMA track, the RESMA side, then you are more into a PhD kind of candidate. So we have a number of people, almost all our graduates, I think a large number of our graduates who have tried to get PhDs, they do not fail, because you can compete. There is a training background, the courses, they can show real strong CV. So we have PhDs both in Holland but outside of Holland in various European universities and so on. So there is diverse career perspective. We mentioned a few, but we can give you concrete examples from living people.
Yeah, they are a bit all over the place.
And all over
in
the
all
place.
kind of jobs.
Yeah.
Most of them related to Africa. Sometimes also people choose not to focus on Africa anymore, and that's of course also possible. But thank you, yeah.
But the training, because you know the things we are African studies, but we function a kind of theoretical orientation and a kind of methodological expertise that can apply wider. And Africa is not only in Africa. Africa is in Europe. Africa is in Asia. And you know, having that African background, we have had, for example, people who are graduates of African studies, but invited to study something, a link between Asia and Africa, Indonesia and Africa, China and Africa. So there is that broad training that equips you to do things outside of Africa in various job positions. But of course, we specialize on Africa as a regional.
And you also take your own expertise with you. So if you have political science background, probably you will also take it with you in the master's program or the research master's program, and maybe you will focus more on political science related jobs afterwards. You know, that can be different from someone who's interested in culture and language, or someone who's very much interested in economy. For example, we also had a student who did research internship with the African Development Bank, while others go to work with female leadership in Tanzania, or you know, or they work in an art gallery in Senegal. You know, so there are so many options, and you will study Africa from different perspectives, and that can lead to many different career perspectives as well. Okay, thank you. Auke asks, I'm mainly interested in humanities, post-colonial literature and media studies and history. In the second year program, how much space is dedicated to the social sciences, economy, geography, and political science? So it's about a research master's program. Asep, you want to answer?
Yeah, thanks, Auke, for this question. So in the second year, you have very few courses. So the second year is your own year when you develop your own ideas, you write about the things you have discovered in the field. So there is, if your interest is, for example, on post-colonial literature, on media studies, you build up, you develop a research project in these areas, and you can do this after fieldwork in Africa. You can do in the library. You can take courses, for example, elsewhere. But if you look into the program itself, we have little teaching in the second year. That is because we want people to develop their thesis in depth, to be able to do extensive fieldwork, and to be able to answer their research questions, get really hands-on practice in doing research. And when you come back, if you want, and time allows you, you can do various courses, join in the CRG clubs, for example, where reading, where discussing special issues is there. But as a core curriculum, your coursework is largely dependent on your first year when you have a lot of courses to do.
Yeah. So if you do not want to spend so much on social sciences in the second year and focus more humanities, that is possible.
Yeah.
To answer.
Depends. Yeah.
Very briefly. Yeah. Okay. Next question, maybe.
And if you want to chip in for answers.
Oh,
yeah.
Azep wants to add something.
No, if Doreen and.
Yeah. Would an internship research focusing on the colonial past of Africa be too sensitive to do? Well, what do you think, Pat?
I would say no. I would say that's an excellent area, very rich as well. So you would hone that down and focus. You'll be supported, when you're choosing, what to do, where to go, how to develop a specific area of research. You'll be supported by the university from their experience. And, as mentioned, we have many resources here to guide you and to really, support the process. So I would say, I will say no in a word, and then what I've explained there.
Yeah, and I also think decoloniality is also part of the Research Master Program,
Very
much.
big part, yes.
Yeah.
I think especially in recent years, the universities especially really trying itself to decolonize the entire African Studies Center. So I would also agree with Pat and say it's absolutely not to. I mean, it depends on what you're going to write about, but as a whole,
it can be a very good topic.
Yes,
It's not really. I don't think there are many topics that are too sensitive. I think much can be studied. So and we will guide you in that.
Yeah. And we actually like people to take up, social problems, sensitive issues, to dare to look into, the past and what its impact is on the present. So yes, definitely there are people who are at African Studies. Some of the teachers are actually doing exactly this work. What is the impact of colonial Africa on day-to-day lives of the citizens now? So this is an excellent topic, and others also sensitive issues. That's what research is for, to do.
Yeah.
Really.
And I also think really sensitive topics that takes more time to grasp reality. So I think the Research Masters Program then is more appropriate to do than the Masters Program, because then you have not so much time. But so if you're interested in really very sensitive topics, then choose for the Research Masters Program.
And you will be prepared well in methodology.
Yeah. Okay, Anne asks, I study archaeology now. Would it be possible to do the Research Master and integrate archaeological research in a program fieldwork to some extent? Well, that sounds very interesting.
Yes.
But once again, please contact the study advisor who can also advise you on how to make an application. And also you need to have sufficient Africa background. But maybe archaeological research in Africa is possible. We also had one student, a friend of yours, who did diving in the Research Master. Also interesting combinations can be made. Yeah,
and I don't know if you know, Annalyn, the archaeology department in Leiden University. I don't know in which university you study. There is archaeology department in Leiden where there is an Africa focus. We have actually a colleague who is from Somali and teaching in the program. So she's doing archaeology and social science research together. So archaeology, for example, we are not teaching a lot about archaeology on it is, for example, in carrying out archaeological research itself, but we do address issues like what it means, what our archaeological findings mean about the history of the people or the future of the people and so on. So this is an excellent area. You can really develop a research in this field. We have had examples of someone who did precisely this in a few years back in Zambia. She's now in Germany after her PhD doing in academic work. So yes, this is a possibility.
Thank you for the question. I don't know how many questions there are left, and also not how much time we have. Okay, Auke asks another question. How much elective space for elective courses does the 2-year program have? Azib?
Yeah, okay, thanks, Auke. The elective courses, one is the course that you take with no, actually 2 courses. The MA African Studies offers 4 elective courses at this point. The programs develop and change slightly across years. But for example, if you are starting next year, I think the choice would be from 4 MA courses you choose to do. And then there is this other course. It is not actually not an elective, but the course that you do with the PhD students, it is a bit, it is part of the graduate program, African Studies. It's not an elective, but it is something a bit outside of the course. So if you, quick answer is 2 elective courses, and that you do in the first semester.
Yeah, but you might also say, because you focus so much on your own topic, that's already kind of an elective space in itself.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Is there another question maybe? Okay, Auke has many questions. If I want to do oral history research in Southern Africa, why would I do this program rather than a history research master where you can also go abroad? Well, what do you think, Doreen?
I mean, I think it depends on what you want to achieve. If you really want to focus only on oral history and that's your sole specific focus, I'd say do that research master. I think the key of the African Studies research master, and also why I chose it, is that it's so broad and that you get the freedom to do a lot of things, but also that the topics you touch upon in the research master are very diverse. So I think we showed it before, like we said, it ranges from post-colonial literature to history to politics. But if you already know I want to study this specific topic and I want to only do oral history, and I'm not interested in anything else, I would do maybe the other one. But if you're like, oh, I'm very open to learning a lot of new topics, new things, new theories, and I want to discuss with my classmates, then I would really recommend.
What I usually also tell students is the programs are kind of a candy shop. Yeah. So there are so many topics, so many different lectures. So when you are very open and open to hear about new topics, new insights, and maybe also use that in what you want to do for your research or your research internship, then African Studies is the place to be. Yeah, but I agree with you, Doreen.
Yeah. Would you like to comment?
No, I think part of going abroad as well is very important. I mean, a lot of people do like a course where you are going abroad hands-on, and if you are interested in South Africa, again, it's not just about oral history in South Africa. Your experience there in any country is also about the culture, the people, the environment. So it's a holistic experience. But good luck with your choices.
Yeah. But history is a single discipline. But with Africa as a regional study, as we mentioned, it is interdisciplinary. So you study history, but from different disciplinary backgrounds. So I think, we are multidisciplinary program, so it's not historical things do exist, but then you get a chance to look at them from various angles. I think that can be the interest.
Yeah. For example, integrate linguistics in it, or anthropology, or other disciplines. Okay, thank you. Patricia asks, for European countries, is there any scholarships we can apply to? As I said earlier, there's a webpage on the Leiden University website with scholarships. So when you Google scholarships Leiden University, you'll get there. So please have a look there. And if you have more questions, then please ask the study advisor about it. But as I said earlier, there are scholarships, but it is, to be honest, it is quite difficult to get one.
And there is this one alternative about scholarship. If you are coming from other European country to Holland, to the Netherlands to study, there is an option to get a kind of scholarship from your home university. So we have our students from Sweden and so on who came with a scholarship to be able to study here, because this is a unique program, and experience of students outside of their countries, so within Europe, is encouraged. So it is also something to look into, not only what's available here in Holland, but what could your own university do for you when you endeavor to get to study outside of your country.
And I'd also like to add that for specific parts of the program, like for example, I'm doing the research master. For the research, there were 2 scholarships that I could apply for that I got, which were fairly easy to get, I would say. So that's not the entire thing, but that's something.
Yeah, that's a very good addition. That's what we haven't told yet, but if you have a green light to go to Africa for your research project, you are entitled to scholarships from Leiden University, and that covers your plane ticket, some costs. It doesn't cover maybe everything, but it's about, let's say, what is it, between
some fee,
between 1,000. How much did you
about
get?
1,200.
Yeah,
so cover maybe medical injections, things like that.
That is like for MA.
That's for
the
MA
research
2,
master.
one of 450, I think, and then one 650. So something like that.
Yeah. So there are some scholarships for the field trip, for the field assignment.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Patricia. Floor says, hi, thank you for the clear presentation so far. I was wondering when you need to do a pre-master first. Could you please clarify when this pre-master will take place? So if you want to study African studies, you apply. You can find all the details on the website and the procedure. If the Board of Admission will consider your application, if you do not fulfill the conditions, and you can already see the conditions also on the website, and assess yourself whether you will whether you will fulfill the conditions or not. But if the Board of Admission says, this is not sufficient, for the master's program, you can do a pre-master that is either a program specific for you. For example, they say, take that course, and then it is okay. But there's also a pre-master, I should phrase it differently. There is a minor, African Dynamics, and when you do that, that will also be sufficient to enter the 1-year master's program. So that's a fixed program, and that is in the first semester of the academic year, and you have to apply for that. You can find information on the Leiden University website. So there are 2 options. Either you do the pre-master African Dynamics, or you do an individual program. Yeah, thank you. Sarah asks, what kind of topics do students write their thesis about? That's a nice question. You can find all the theses uploaded on the African Studies Center website. When you go to education, then you have the masters and the research masters tabs, and there, when you click there, you can see all the thesis of the I think the past 4 years, something like that. But maybe what do your colleagues within your fellow students within the master write thesis about?
Yeah. So Sarah, just to be clear, your experience with the internship, whether it's the 1 year or the 2 year, that is master's or research master's program, that's the thesis that you write is based on that experience in Africa. And so, my one, as I mentioned, was about recontamination of water in the home, with a lens of sustainability and, the anthropological and people's behavior around water in the home. So it varies, as we said, from area to area. We've had one girl, a colleague of mine, she was theatre studies, and she was in Nigeria. It really, really varies. 4 of us were in Kenya in different locations doing different things. So that's the kind of short answer to that.
Yeah. And for the research master?
I think you already mentioned it. A friend of mine went to Kenya to study the coral reefs and the how to keep up with the coral reefs, and also she did so by diving. So she really made the coral and the sea, the ocean, part of her research, a very new kind of research. Then there was a friend who did it on the beadwork in Mozambique, another friend who went to Mozambique about conviviality, so it was very much a more humanities social approach, because he wanted to study that mindset. A friend who did it on dance groups in Paris that I mentioned. So very, very different. I've had art people from the 1 year master who went to art galleries in South Africa. Basically anything.
Yeah. It can be
goes.
anything in many countries. Yeah.
Yeah. And just looking historically, not from your groups, but we have our students who did on sport, on circus, for example, children's circus in Ethiopia. I remember there was research on elections. There were research on market women in Nigeria. You name it. It is really broad. The interest is broad, and the theses are, I must say, the thesis of students from Leiden University are really very strong. Some are directly publishable. There were even people who published their work after their graduation. So I encourage you to look into the repository of Leiden University to have a look, and you get really inspired by the kind of topics they cover, the depth and which they go into. So we are really very proud of our students if it goes about the subjects they address.
I just supervised a master's thesis on multi-stakeholder platforms and land rights in Kenya. So it can be, but it also depends on your own background, your own interest, where you write your thesis about.
Yeah.
So thanks. Okay, Sarah asks, how many hours of classes do students usually get per week? How was it for you, Pat, in the master's program?
Yeah. So of course it varies block to block, but we are advised. I also attended this online this online platform 2 years ago, and I also remember what you said, Karen, because the same question came up. It is full time, this course, because you have your set classes and then you have to do your reading around that. So I mean, you definitely account 40 hours a week, just like a full-time job, to kind of dedicate yourself. And then, of course, I feel that the first block is a lot, there's a lot, you're adapting, you're kind of figuring out like how things work, your fellow students, and kind of juggling your time. But it's just like any bachelor's program, any study program, but you are supported. There is accessibility to the lectures, of course, as well, in terms of supporting you and advice. But do account for, you're putting in your hours.
Yeah, I think for the master program it's about around 15 hours a week of classes, and then indeed, you fill it up until 40 hours with all the preparation. How is it for the research master's program?
I would say something like that, between 10 and 20. It varies a bit, yeah.
But it is a full-time study.
It's a full-time study, and outside of classes you have a lot of things to do yourself. You do research in the research master. Also you read, you make presentations. It's a lot of preparation work.
Yeah, you write papers. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Sarah, for the question.
That's it.
That's it?
Is there more questions or? Okay.
I think, just on Sarah's last question, when you choose topics that you're interested in, the 40 hours don't seem, like, it's not like it's hard work. I'll just add that. That's the great thing about flexibility and, yeah.
Is this the end?
Last question.
No
more questions.
Okay.
Do you recap the last part?
Okay, so thank you very much for watching this presentation and for your questions. If you have any questions, please contact us. The details are in the presentation. You can always contact also the study advisor. Have a look at the e-prospectus at the website. And we really hope to see you next year in September here in Leiden. So thank you very much.
Thank you. May I take also leave of you by inviting you. If you are interested in African studies, Leiden is the place to be. So please, examine the websites that we have mentioned, have a look, make a critical look, and make a weighed choice, and then we'll welcome you here in Leiden. Thank you.